What's good, YouTube? It's cuddleofdeath here. Happy to woo! And we are back with another United Championship League battle. This week we are taking on NumbNexus, coach of the Pittsburgh Pichus. I was looking at his draft and I was absolutely terrified of it. His biggest threat is obviously his Entei with Sacred Fire. And as you guys can see, he has Keldeo, Entei, his Latios, he has Mawile, which I was really surprised about, seeing him bring Mawile. He's barely brought it this season. A little Chia Pet Shaman, and his Electros. While we have a Galvantula, Seismitoad, Latias, Heatran, Salamence, and our Ferrothorn. I figured I would bring the Heatran Ferrothorn combo, as well as like I was going to go ahead and bring the Seismitoad. And yes, I did expect Shaman because Seismitoad is such a big, mean blue machine. But looking at his team, I was thinking, or looking at his entire draft, I was like, alright, well, Galvantula is still, for the most part, a pretty safe lead. I can have it as the general suicide lead with the Focus Sash, that's fine. And against his team, Webs would be pretty good. Obviously, it's not really going to do anything to the Latios or the Electros. I keep forgetting that thing's name. Yeah, it's not going to do anything to the Electros or Latios, but for the most part, for the rest of his team, it would be pretty good. I have an Assault Vested Latias in here as well, so that's something to be mindful of. I'll probably have the sets linked down in the description, actually, since this is post-com. But as always, we do have fun in the UCL every week. Regardless of whether we win or lose, we are playing for fun, not playing super serious like some of the people in the comment section that try to critique every little thing you do because they are mad that you're trying to have fun. Not talking about the people that are legitimately playing and like playing their hearts out and stuff, but we like to have fun every week. If that's not you guys, then you're watching the wrong video. So we're gonna go ahead and get straight into the battle. I love how his name has been Oprah this entire time. He starts off with Phallus, his Electros. We lead off with Boku no Pico, our Galvantula here, and this was an okay lead. I kind of figured that he would lead with Electros. It's a really good lead. It gets access to Volt Switch. It is very slow. And I kind of wanted to scout. I was like, does he have an Assault Vest or what? So I went for a Bug Buzz just to get a little bit of damage off, and the lack of damage there was telling me, okay, yeah, he probably does have an Assault Vest, which is a very common set for an Electros. He goes straight into his Entei, and honestly here I was like, is he going to predict a switch, and instead of going for Extreme Speed, will he go for Sacred Fire? So for this reason I decided to actually stay in. Unfortunately my predictions were off, and he goes for an Extreme Speed, which is a really good play for him. I could have switched into Ferrothorn there, which was one of the things I was thinking about, but like I said, he could have just went for a Sacred Fire predicting that. I go out into my Ferrothorn. Now he switches back out into Phallus, which I'm always afraid of the Flamethrower here. So I decided to go ahead and switch back out. I probably could have protected there since, protect it and go off since he had switched. I switched into my Heatran, and just as I suspected, it does have Flamethrower. So this is actually really good for me. I was actually expecting him maybe to switch here, and Dragon Pulse hits everything on his team except for Mawile. So I just went for a D-Pulse. I could have actually gone for a Lava Plume there, though unfortunately nothing I do is going to do a massive amount of damage to that Electros, so that confirmed the Assault Vest because this Heatran has max special attack. So I protected to see what he was going to do there. He reveals Earthquake, so I'm like, okay, I'm going to switch back into Senpai and see what he's going to do. I could have actually stayed in there predicting the Defog because the only thing on his team that he had that could get rid of any hazards was this Latios. But instead I switch into Ferrothorn, and he gets rid of my webs. He gets rid of my webs. So I'm like, alright, he's not going to stay in. I set up the rocks. He does switch out back into his Electros here. I protect to see what it's going to go for. It goes for a knockoff predicting the switch. So I decided to go ahead and switch into my Seismitoad here. This set, I believe, actually has, it has leftovers. So I Volt Switch, or he tries to Volt Switch against my Seismitoad, and it doesn't work, obviously, because we're part ground. I predict that he's going to go for a Giga Drain and switch back into my Heatran. He does go for the Giga Drain. Does no damage, obviously, because Heatran is a freaking boss. And since Heatran outspeeds, I decide to go for a Lava Plume. I get the burn. And he goes for a Volt Switch. Narrowly living, does a fair amount to us as well. he switches back into his Latios here. Look at that little Baja Blast wannabe. Legendary, pretty cool guy, if I do say so myself. And I'm sitting here hoping that he might predict the switch, so he would go for a defog, but instead he predicts us to stay in and goes for an Earthquake. That was unfortunate because I was playing on hoping that he would predict our switch, that we wouldn't stay in. But he played very well, and we over-predicted him. So he tries to see what move we have here on Seismitoad. He lets Phallus die, which was really good because we revealed our Ice Punch. And he goes into his Shaman, which obviously outspeeds my Seismitoad in every way, shape, or form. He double switches into Entei. I could have gone for an Earthquake there, but again, that'd be playing off of risks and since one of my recent risks, wishing that his Latios went for defog instead of Earthquake, failed me, I decided to play a little bit safer. I switch into Ferrothorn here, and I protect because most Enteis have like a choice band set, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna see what he locks himself into. Now this is where it gets a little hairy. He starts locking himself into Sacred Fire. And I'm like, oh no, the burn, the 50% chance to burn. I didn't want to lose my Ferrothorn. He gets to burn on my Seismitoad. I do actually carry Scald on the Seismitoad though. So I'm ready to Scald, knowing that he's going to switch into his stupid little Chia Pet here, which is super adorable. But he switches into his little Chia Pet. I go for a Scald knowing it won't do any damage to it, so it was supposed to be for Entei, but I'm hoping to get a burn. We get a critical hit, which does a massive amount of damage. I can't believe how much amazing damage it does, right? And we don't get a burn. We do not get a burn. So it's rather sad that we don't get a burn. We really needed it. It would help. I know Shaman can have Natural Cure, I believe, so once he switches out anyways, it would have gone away, but it's okay. So thinking that it can't really do much to my Latias, I switch it in. I switch it in here. It goes for the Giga Drain. Barely getting any HP back, obviously, because it's not very effective. He withdraws. And at this point, I'm like, is he going to predict a Draco Meteor? Or is he going to predict something else? What I actually wanted to do at that point was I was going between Thunderbolt or Psyshock. Psyshock if he decided to stay in. Unfortunately, he switched out, so Thunderbolt would have been a better play right there. I am completely aware of that. So we switch back into Seismitoad, who obviously isn't able to do much. He can go ahead and just Scald stuff, just try to get the burn, even if he were to switch back out into Shaman. He sets up his Stealth Rocks with Jaw, so I could have gone for a Thunderbolt there, but again, I am worried about stuff like Sucker Punch, and I just don't want to take that damage. I do not want to take that damage from Jaws. Jaws is super mean. He's just a mean guy. So our best bet is to try to get the Scald burn on the Shaman, just for a little bit of chip damage. Like I said, he could go ahead and switch it out again, but hey, it's just a little bit, tiny, eensy-weensy bit of chip damage. It's just gonna recover off some damage with its lefties here at this point. And at this point I was willing to let my Seismitoad die. I was also thinking about going back into Latios, but I was fearing Dazzling Gleam, which is something I believe Shaman can get. So I could have swapped there. Again, with Nexus, it's very hard to predict him versus me. I would say we're on pretty equal footing. Just from past experiences battling each other, we're on pretty equal footing. But I predicted him to switch there, because I could have just went for a Psyshock again. So I went for the Thunderbolt, which could have given me a paralysis, but I didn't want to do that. So I start pivoting between Psyshock and Thunderbolt once again, trying to see if he's going to swap out here. And this little Chia Pet's just doing work. It's so cute, but it's so freaking menacing. It's just working on my Latias here. Again, like I said, switching back and forth. Predicting him to switch. Sorry, I had a hiccup. Predicting him to switch into his Mawile, which he does not do. So that's unfortunate for us. So I'm like, at this point, he's not going to switch. Psyshock. I can't even say it. Try to say Psyshock 5 times fast. Psyshock. I can't. It comes out Psysock. I'm going to Psysock this Chia Pet in the face, man. Yeah, so we're just like, we're going to get the Shaman as low as we possibly can. We get a critical hit, and I have to see it from his side. It looks like it lived with 1 or 2 HP, 3 max. I have to see that. That was just crazy, but it would have been nice there to kill him. It would have been very nice there to kill him. And at this point, things are looking pretty hairy for us. Looking pretty hairy. So we bring in our Ferrothorn, and I'm like, you know what? He's probably gonna withdraw. He wants to preserve his Shaman. So I'm like, I'm gonna just slap up a nice and powerful... Oh my gosh. I'm gonna slap up a nice and powerful Power Whip here and spank the crap out of this Entei. Look at the damage we did. Ooh. Yeah, so I figured it was free damage no matter what, chip damage. We switch into, yeah, because we only have 2 Pokemon left, we switch into Salamence. The only chance we had here was hoping that he could, number 1, take a Sacred Fire, which he can, and number 2, not get the 50% burn. Our Salamence is Choice Scarfed here, which is another reason why I switched into him instead of staying into Ferrothorn to let it die, because otherwise we'd lock ourselves into Earthquake and then he can just bring Latios in and kill us. Unfortunately for us, he did get the burn, and this Keldeo is actually Scarfed. So it's pretty much good game from here on out. But we were not giving up. We had Senpai left as our last-ditch effort here, which was not looking very good, but we're like, screw Ponyo. We're gonna go for whatever it is that we can go for. We're just gonna start slapping the hell out of everything with our Power Whip. We're gonna just do some damage. Power Whip misses. Ferrothorn needs to get some glasses. I have a pair myself, just so I don't miss Power Whips. And he goes for the Super Fang, which is funny because he takes Iron Barbs damage and Rocky Helmet damage. Decent amount of damage done there. And we miss the second Power Whip back to back. At this point, Senpai was just feeling down. All of his other teammates around him had fallen. So, I was actually really happy to see that this Mawile didn't have Fire Fang, which was something I know it can carry. It did not have. I believe it can have that. I could be totally wrong. But, we Leech Seed here just to try to get some HP back. And at the same time, I'm like, he's probably going to switch because he doesn't want me to get any more HP back. I had 2 choices here. The obvious inaccurate Power Whip or the Leech Seed. He sends in Shaman to die a horrible death. Poor little Shaman here. And I'm like, well, it's game over. He sends in freaking Ponyo. And I'm looking at this thing. I hate Keldeo with a passion only because the movie, it has great stats and it's amazing competitively. But, oh, Keldeo, the Keldeo movie. Ooh, no. But that was the end of the battle. I enjoyed it very much. I loved it. Obviously, you can't prevent the stuff that has happened. A loss is a loss. We take it, you know, with happiness because it was still a very enjoyable battle. Make sure to check out NumbNexus. His link will be in the description. And I'll also link his anime review channel, so check that out in the description as well. Love you guys. I'll see you guys in the next video.